Hello everyone, and today we're going to take a look at the MacBook, or the Mac Mini. I know I said MacBook. Mac Mini, and see how it does at gaming. Now, this is a Mac Mini from 2010. As you can see, it has no DVD drive on the front of it, and, you know, there's nothing on the side here. The rear I.O. is pretty, not too bad for 2010. You get HDMI, mini display port, 4 USB ports, an SD card reader, headphone, microphone port. You get also a little mini a firewire connection. You get an Ethernet jack, and you've got the power button and the power cable. So there's not really much to the I/O. It's pretty reasonable, should work pretty well on modern monitors and TVs. It's nice that you get an HDMI and the mini display port. That's pretty nice as well there. Right, so this is the bottom of the Mac Mini. This is how you gain access to do upgrades and so forth. So it did have 4 gigs of RAM. I did upgrade it to 8 gigs of RAM, and it does have 2 mechanical hard drives in it, 2 500 gigs. There you can see the RAM, easy to replace. There is the hard drive, which we did add an SSD to. You can see it is quite compact in there, but you can upgrade the RAM easily, I suppose. The hard drive was a bit of a pain to get to. Right, so here we are booted into OSX High Sierra. That is the maximum, the latest version of Mac OS. And we'll go over the specs of the MacBook. You can see here it is a mid-2010 Mac Mini server, 2.66 gigahertz Core 2 Duo, 8 gigs of RAM. Again, we upgraded that. The 1067 megahertz was the maximum it supported. It does have a GPU in it. It has an NVIDIA GPU. As well. The storage, again, it's got 2 500 gig. I did replace the operating system one with an SSD because they're a pain to use. 8 gigs, 2 4 gigabyte modules. Again, the 1067 megahertz was the maximum that it would support. I did try 1600 DDR3, but wouldn't post. For that came from the MacBook Pro that I had from 2012. You can see there the 2 4 gigabyte modules. Again, that is just the maximum that it will support. The GPU is it's a G4. It's not even a G4. It's just an NVIDIA 320M. So it doesn't even have GTX. It just says GeForce, but not GeForce GTX. Again, 256 megabytes of VRAM, and that is kind of ridiculous, but we'll see how it goes in gaming. Right, so I managed to get Steam installed. Pretty easy. And the good thing about Steam on macOS is if you go up and click the little Apple logo up there, it will show the games from your library that are compatible with macOS. So you can see here we've got all the games listed here are compatible. So there's over 100 games out of our library that are macOS compatible. It doesn't mean that it will run well on the system, but these are just the macOS compatible games here. And I thought I would start with The Witcher Enhanced Edition. But this one does not run. You can see how slow Steam is running, so that'll give you an indication. So when you try to launch this, you just get The Witcher's not compatible with this version of macOS. We need a later version. This is a game from 2007, although it is The Witcher Enhanced Edition. So I'm surprised that it doesn't work with the system. If we go to load the store page, it does take a while to load the store, which again gives you an indication of how gaming performance will be on this. I think 2010 is a bit too old, we could argue, to get decent gaming performance. It does take a long time to load. We are downloading. I think we've got an update for Vampire Survivors or something like that. If we go out and then go back in, it tends to load. There you go. See, it loaded a bit quicker. The Witcher Enhanced Edition Director's Cut. But I don't know if the original Witcher would run, because it is a game from like 2000. That was released in 2008. And again, you got the macOS specs here. We don't have the right, we're meeting the minimum requirements here. GeForce GT 650M, which is below the minimum requirements. Core i5. Ironically, The Witcher 2 has lower specifications than this, but again, this just can't run. We've got more RAM there, the GT 650M, although I wasn't expecting it to run well, but it would have been nice if we could have at least got it to load. So we have a GPU that's below that. We have a CPU that's also below the minimum requirements. Bit sad that it didn't run, though, at first. Right, so let's go check out Vampire Survivors then. And the good news is, the music works fine. So this game, the minimum requirements for this game are... We've leveled up there. So yeah, the minimum requirements for Vampire Survivors are literally a 64-bit CPU. On Windows, it says it requires a Pentium 4 as its minimum requirements there. So again, I just don't see why this game really struggles to run. Yes, I don't know why it struggles to run on this system, because again, it's like, again, the minimum requirement, it's not as if it's GPU bound. Yeah, the GPU you could argue is weak, but I'm surprised that it doesn't run. It runs. This is just the start of the run here, and leveling up causes it to freeze. So we don't. The good news is also we don't need a frame rate counter as well, because we could literally count the frames, and we won't run out of fingers. But yeah, it is unplayable on the CPU. So yeah, I mean, it does require a single core CPU that's 64-bit, and this is a dual core CPU. Okay, it is running Steam in the background. Let's go for the Song of Mana. We might as well fill the screen up with particles. Oh, the Song of Mana can't even... It can't even load the Song of Mana. That's bad. That is... I mean, this is the worst I've ever seen it perform. I mean, on the Steam Deck, it gets down to this kind of low frame rate, but it's usually about the 28-minute mark in the run. We're only a minute into the run, and yeah, why not? Skull-O-Matic, let's go for that. But yeah, so Vampire Survivors is not playable. I mean, it can't even finish loading the Song of Mana. It is doing the damage there, but yeah, that's not good for us at all. I mean, and we're doing the library level, and that's one of the lighter levels to load. But yeah, it really is getting unplayable. We're getting down to single-digit frame rates now. Pentagram, can't make it any worse. Let's clear the screen. Oh, there you go. So there you go, Vampire Survivors is the most modern game that we'll try on this, and yeah, the results are disappointing to say the least. Okay, so let's go check out something else now. Knights of the Old Republic is compatible. You get this nifty new launcher. We could use the App Store version, but we're using the Steam version because it is too expensive to buy on the App Store. It's £10. I'm not paying that. This channel isn't even monetized, so I ain't paying that. So yeah, you get this little nifty little launcher, and it does work on, again, OSX. Again, you could choose the App Store version. I don't know if that'll run better. A lot of stuff on the App Store doesn't really run so well, and you get the Aspire logo. So again, it is kind of been updated. Resolution-wise, we've got a resolution of 1024 by 768, which is the highest one. We've got medium texture quality. That's not good. That's not a good sign, really, that Knights of the Old Republic can't run. This is a game from 2003. Don't forget it was released on the original Xbox as well. So this, we're expecting, should run. Trouble finding the screen resolution. So it is 1280 by 960, sorry. So 900, we'll call it 960p, which is ironically the resolution for the DLSS resolution for 1440p in quality mode. That's 960p, and you can see here it's not great to be honest. I mean, it's playable, you would say, but it's not running at a really good frame rate. Shut up, Karth. We'll kill Karth later in the game. That guy dies. I'm just giving you out spoilers for that. But otherwise, that it is playable. It is a playable game, but it is not smooth. And again, bear in mind, this is a game from 2003. We got to get... Do I have the skills? I do have the skills to open that. That was good. I picked a Scoundrel, I think. Or a class, I can't remember exactly what I picked. But yeah, you can see it kind of chugging along. Again, we don't have a frame rate counter, but we don't really need a frame rate counter. And KOTOR is a game that you don't really need to play at a high frame rate anyway, because the combat mostly is done through the pause menu. You know, again, you can pause the game and then you can queue up abilities. So you don't really need a particularly high frame rate to enjoy Knights of the Old Republic, but it would have been nice to see it run at a reasonable frame rate. Go on, get in there, whatever that dude's name was. That dude's coming up to me to hit me. All right, we shot him. Nice. We did some combat in there, and again, a 2003 game is struggling to run on a device that was released in 2010. So let's go ahead and see how it runs a more recent in relation to when it was released. We'll go check out Batman Arkham Asylum. Right, so Batman Arkham Asylum, released in 2009, the year before this came out. You get this error message. Batman Arkham Asylum is not optimized for your Mac. And at first you're like, who are Apple to tell me this? Like, don't you tell me this. I'll decide what's optimized. How dare you tell me this?
20 minutes later.
Yep. Turns out Apple was right. So there's some frames. They're being rendered. This is 720p low settings, by the way. There are frames. They are being rendered. But it's not playable. There's no way this is playable. Maybe lowering the resolution might help, but yeah. Other than that, this just isn't playable. So it turns out, you know, this is not optimized to run on your Mac. Correct. They are right. And yeah, the frame rate is utterly atrocious. Again, we can count these on one hand. No need for a frame rate counter here. Because, yeah, it's struggling to run. Bear in mind, this was... I mean, it's not a gaming device, the Mac Mini. It was never designed as a gaming device. And again, it doesn't even have a GTX card in there. But, yeah, you know, this is a 2009 game, and this is a 2010 device. So, running modern games is definitely out on it. It can't even run games from its own era. So, let's go check out some more... I guess historical games or easier to run games and see if they're any better than this. This is the toughest test we've asked for it. I mean, you could call it slightly playable if you want, but I wouldn't call it playable. Right then, let's go check out a game that was initially developed for the Mac, Halo then. Remember, Halo started out life as a Mac game. And this was actually ported to the Mac in 2003, and it was made compatible with Intel CPUs in 2006, I believe. That was the last update. So you can just go and download this. It is abandonware. And you can download the latest update, which removes the security for it. That's what the last update for it does. It shows you how abandoned it is. It does recommend pixel and vertex shaders rather than advanced pixel shaders. This one should be fairly easy to run because this is just the Gearbox software port that was done in 2003. You can see the Gearbox logo. I guess it was ported Macsoft, I guess. It is a bit weird, though, launching... all right, there's a few studios that have been added to this. You have to press the space bar weirdly instead of escape to get in there. But we'll go for the game. It is weird seeing like a Bungie and Bungie were a Mac, and then you've got Gearbox logo, and then you've got like a Microsoft logo, which is weird to see the Microsoft Games Studios logo. So let's get into game and see what it's like. We're running this. It does default to 1080p, but I have lowered the resolution to 720p and everything's on high. I turned the VSync off because the mouse behavior was really weird. So I tried 16:900, didn't work out. So 720p was the desired resolution that we went for in the end. Right, so we're doing the level Halo in the game Halo, just in case you're confused. So this is the second level in the game, and the mouse behavior is really weird. Like, I did the whole of the first level, and it just feels so weird. It's like there's some weird mouse acceleration that's on, and I can't get it off. But other than that, the game runs fine. Again, this is high settings and 720p. I don't really want to drop the settings in a 2001 game, essentially. So bear in mind, Halo, remember, was first revealed for the Mac. It was revealed at Macworld 2000. Steve Jobs revealed it. And then, of course, Bungie got bought over by Microsoft, and Microsoft made them make it for the Xbox, and it was an Xbox launch title. But eventually, it was ported to the PC in 2003, and it was also ported to the Mac in the same year. Bear in mind that when it was ported in 2003, Apple was still using PowerPC CPUs, IBM PowerPC CPUs. So this did get an update for Intel CPUs. So you are going to have to install that update. You can just download this game. You don't really need to buy it because, again, you can only buy it on disk. And this Mac Mini doesn't have a disk drive, so we can't really, there's no point in us having a CD, is there? And the last update for it removed like all the security checks. So it is abandonware, in case you're wondering. The Master Chief Collection also is not compatible with Mac OS, so you can't do that. I looked at it in Steam, but there's no compatibility for it. So this is the only real way to play Halo on the Mac. And it has been long abandoned, along with like the PC release. I think has been long abandoned, but other than that, it's okay. It doesn't run at 60 FPS. It runs more like about between 30 and 40 FPS. There's dips into the 20s whenever you get a load of enemies on screen. We tried driving around in the Warthog as well in this level. This level is more of a test than the first level, as the first level is just on the Pillar of Autumn. Whereas this level, you're on the ring. It's called Halo, the second level. Halo in Halo, we're doing. Halo on Halo is what we're running here. And as you can see, when you get more than one enemy on screen here, you get all these little Covenant dudes and the Elite dude. It's just weird to play, I would say. We might do a full video on Halo on the Mac and talk about it in a bit more in-depth. We have went a bit in-depth there. We got them all with the grenade. That really killed the frame rate there. But yeah, Halo it's playable, I will say. It is more playable. So it does struggle to run original Xbox games, a device that came out in 2010. That is concerning, isn't it? Right, so just for shits and giggles then, let's try CSGO then on this from 2012. I did get this weird error message from CSGO, and it did sit on this screen for an insanely long time. I thought this is never going to work, and it does run in a window mode, but eventually we did get it to work. We got it to work at 720p in low settings, so let's go check that out. Right, so there you go. After an eternity of waiting, it did eventually boot up, and it did eventually load Dust 2 with bots, and it's better than I expected, I've got to say. I had very low expectations. If you're here with all your AI companions, then your AI teammates, should we say, then it's pretty bad. But as you go out on your own, it's not too bad. Let's see if we can get a kill on a bot in Dust 2 here. Let's see if we can kill somebody. But yeah, you're not going to play with other players. It's not playable on this GPU. Again, the VRAM is just way too low for this. I killed somebody. There's another terrorist there. Oh, this is difficult. Yeah, there you go. 2 kills. 2 kills I got there. That is surprising, to say the very least. So yeah, I think it's just the lack of VRAM that is the issue. 256 megabytes in 2010 was pretty low end, let me tell you that. The first ever PC, I'll put a screenshot up of, a system screenshot from Knights of the Old Republic 2 of the first PC that I ever built. And that had a Radeon X800 Pro in it, and that was in 2004, and that had 512 megabytes of VRAM. That was 2004. That was, I mean, again, this is the same engine as Half-Life 2, the Source engine. That's what I built that PC to run. Didn't test Half-Life 2 because, we know how the Source engine handles. This is probably, is it one of the most up-to-date Source engine ports? This was 2012, this released. I don't know if Dota 2, I'd imagine it's probably going to be the same. Didn't try Dota 2, to be honest. Maybe because I tried Team Fortress 2, that might have been a better thing to try than CSGO. But as you can see, if you move away from them all, it's not too bad. Oh, there's a dude there. Yay! I got another kill on someone in CSGO. It's the only time I can get a kill is with bots. But anyway, we'll go and we'll take a look at it and see how well it does as a general web browsing PC. Right, so let's see if it can run YouTube at 1080p. We've got an ad at least. Oh, it's an ad on my other channel. At least we'll skip the ad and let's see how well this runs YouTube. So it's defaulted to 720p, but if we go to 1080p, it does not like it. And full screen 1080p video, it just shows you how old this thing is, that it really struggles. Like, you can see it skipping away there. This is just one of my videos. Anyway, but it really just cannot play back 1080p. We are using Safari, so maybe we'd get better out of, you know, a lighter web browser, but yeah, it doesn't do well. 720p is the limit for video playback. It's just skipping, and the audio was skipping out as well there. And you take it off full screen and it goes a bit crazy when you do that. Now 480p is fine. You can see it goes back to normal, and the 720p 60 fps is fine for full screen video. So yeah, there you go. It's so old it can't even do sort of general web browsing. Loading YouTube videos should be a thing that it should be able to do. But yeah, 1080p there. You can see what happens when you go off of full screen there. So this is just running in Safari. Again, if we go to 720p, it goes away and thinks about it for quite a while, and then again we go full screen and it doesn't like that at all, but it runs okay. That's 720p 60 fps. So what we'll do is we'll end on the one game that we could get running satisfactorily. Okay, so we'll end the video on a Bungie classic, and we're going to try Marathon, which was released in 1995. And this was Bungie, I think it was one of Bungie's first games. So there is a project for Marathon that lets it run on modern systems. So modern Macs, Windows PCs, and Linux as well, it will run. We'll just begin a new game here. And again, this is the only game that really runs well, which is kind of sad, really, for a 2010 Mac. You know, Mac Mini. It's not a gaming machine as well, but you can see here Marathon runs okay, actually. You know, and it's a pretty interesting first-person shooter. It is available on the Xbox. I think it's available on Xbox 360. I don't know if it was ever ported over to the Xbox One or the Xbox Series consoles, or if it works via backwards compatibility, but this is just like a fan restoration project, and again, it has been, you know, ported to, again, because the Macs of the 90s would have used PowerPC CPUs. You can see the UESC instead of the UNSC in Halo. You've got I don't know, what does UESC stand for? I don't know, because I've never really played this game, to be honest. But this is, you know, this was one of the Mac's signature games. So there you go. If you're interested in gaming, this was the second cheapest Apple product that I bought, and the one before that was a charger. It's £35 for a charger. This cost £80. It cost, and the SSD cost, I think, £23, and the RAM upgrade cost about £20 as well. So £120 all in. Was worth upgrading to the SSD, but it's not a gaming machine, and it never was sold as a gaming machine. So you've got to take that in mind. The problem with this era of Apple product is it's too young to play kind of modern games, and it's too old to play classic Mac games, because the classic Mac games are, well, Marathon had to be, this is just I think it's just a restoration project. I'll see if I can get a link for it and put it in the description if you want to try it out, because again, it does work in Linux and it does work in Windows as well, this version, and there is Mac OS. Just download the version for your operating system and install it, and away you go. Marathon's another abandoned game. It's considered abandonware on there. So anyway, that is all for this video. So our first experience of gaming on a Mac. And it wasn't good, but I wasn't expecting it to be good. Again, it can't run games, even games of its era, or even light modern games like CSGO. Even though it's above the minimum requirements for CSGO, Core 2 Duo is listed as the minimum requirement. I think it is the VRAM, though. I think that VRAM is the biggest bottleneck with the system there. So anyway, that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me. We'll see you again soon, and goodbye.